My name is Joe Zikas. I'm with NewHomeNotebook.com. I'm sitting here with Lloyd Gussis, who's an attorney who concentrates his practice in real estate. What I seem to be hearing from you is that there are no holdbacks for punch list items.
What ends up happening is when the developer holds back money, which is rare, he never seems to be able to get it because he's holding it back for, let's say, 3 items. And this happened to me as well when I represented a developer. The 3 items get fixed, and then the buyer notices 3 more items.
3 more.
So
and then 3 more.
And then 3 more, and you know the story.
I know the story.
and obviously if the money's being held in escrow, it can't be released until both parties so direct. And if it's $1,000 or $2,000, it doesn't pay for the developer to run into court and try and prove up a case. He'll obviously spend a lot more money in legal fees. So
we all hope so.
Therefore, developers are very reticent to hold back money.
So not much point in asking for it or getting excited about it if you don't get it, in other words.
Exactly. Although you get a lot of people who believe that when something's not done, they should hold back money. And of course, when you tell them that you'll argue the case for them, but likelihood is the seller's not going to agree, and in fact, a lot of developers just put it in the contract, they look at you with one eyebrow up like, whose side are you on anyway, when all you're really trying to do is say, don't get crazy with this because it's probably not going to happen.
Okay. Rolling right along.
Yes.
Contract time, what other negotiating items are there? Escrowing funds. I've heard that there are some developers who don't escrow funds apart from...
When you say escrow funds, you mean earnest money?
Earnest money.
Now you're getting into the suburbs. In the suburbs, developers like to use the earnest money to build the house. And that is, it's a legal phrase, something like scary as hell. Because obviously, if everything works the way it's supposed to, you don't even need a written contract. You can shake hands, and the guy will build exactly what you wanted and honor everything he said to you verbally. And there wouldn't be a need for me to be involved in this at all. Unfortunately, that's not the way it is.
Unfortunately, there's some guys who take the money and head for Lithuania.
Yeah, or start the project, never finish. It just happened to me with some clients on new construction. The developer got very nervous and didn't want to front any money for things that he was supposed to front the money for, and wanted my clients to come up with more money so he could use that to pay for things that were going to be put in the house.
Was that a small developer? Or?
Yeah, a small developer, and the deal fell through. But again, there are developers who will only do it that way. And I suppose the bottom line is, if you want to buy their product, you do it their way or you go somewhere else.
What are you going to tell them at that point? Is that
I think at that point,
decision, or
it is absolutely a client decision. And I think my job is to tell them basically worst case scenario and tell them the pitfalls and all the things that can go wrong and what the bottom line is, and basically say it's up to you. If they want my opinion, I would tell them whether I would do it myself or not, but that has little relevance in the overall scheme because it's their money that's on the table, not mine.
And your opinion in general would be?
I probably would walk. Let me put it to you this way. I have clients who are developers.
You've seen it go south too many
times.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
And you know how your developers think.
It's just too scary. I mean, it's just really, and again, in this environment, it's just too scary. You're giving somebody $50,000 or $100,000 and saying, build my house. And, if everything works well, it's great.
You're giving them venture capital is what you're...
Exactly.
Giving risk capital.
Again, yeah. And maybe some of that should be, then why don't you buy the land and hire them to do it and pay them periodically as it goes along. That's an option. But that's a different subject, really.
Are we exhausted the kinds of issues that are really to be considered in contract time? Or?
Well, other than looking at the contract and picking out those things that just jump out at you and say, wait a minute, that's not
Some
fair.
Unusual.
I'll give you an example. And it kind of negates what I said before. There is a lawyer who, with their tax proration, and I'm very familiar because I've done a bunch of these with them, for the year of the closing, they want the seller, the buyer, to pay 3% of the purchase price, prorated from the date of closing through the end of the year, not to be reprorated.
That's just increasing the purchase price.
What, it's putting money in the seller's pocket. Because if you're doing a condo in 2008 and the declaration is filed in 2008, you're not going to get an individual tax bill on that unit until the 2009 tax is payable in 2010.
Right.
If the developer wants you to put money in escrow for 2008 for those taxes payable in 2009, and I do that all the time, it needs to be on some basis that the buyer can live with.
Corresponds to the existing tax bill.
The taxes, when they're individualized, won't be 3% of the purchase price. Why you would want I know why the buyer should put up 3%, which is way beyond what it would be, and then not readjust. I mean, it's one thing to say, all right, you'll put it up and you'll get it back if it's too much.
They're actually getting away with this in certain circumstances.
Absolutely, and especially when the market is terrific. Again, it's part of the contract. We don't negotiate it, take it or leave it. And I've had people take it because they wanted the place. You point it out, you tell them what the story is, and they say, that's it.
Would that be tax deductible if it doesn't correspond with the actual tax bill?
That's an accounting question I'm not going to get into.
You're not going to get into that one.
But I don't think so, because
I don't think so
all
either.
you're doing is you're basically depositing money that you're not getting back.
And you can only deduct what you actually pay for real estate taxes, not...
Exactly. So I thought that was, and that's something that I raised more out of principle than anything else. I didn't think they were going to change it, but it was abhorrent to me. I just thought it was unfair.